I didn't get the notification, the push notification that you sent the invitation, but now it's showing up saying, hey, he sent it 8 minutes ago. I'm like, but you didn't tell me 8 minutes ago. I was busy looking at photos of the Brooklyn Cyclones Seinfeld night.
Yeah, I saw the bobblehead, I think, this year. It was that George marine biologist thing, right?
Yeah.
What else did they do?
I mean, they've done the Seinfeld night every year. They haven't really done many new things. They do the Elaine dance competition.
Oh yeah.
There's been they had a toilet paper, I'm guessing probably like a square mummy wrap competition to see who could wrap themselves up. They had a trash eating contest, which looked new and cool.
Gosh, that's hilarious.
So there was just like people just like stuffing their face with eclairs, but like having to dodge like balled up papers instead.
That's amazing.
That looks incredible. Not the biggest fan of the jersey this year though, because I mean you've seen them in years past, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2019 I think was the last like really good one, because 2019 they were the Brooklyn Marble Rye. 2021 they didn't do a full jersey, they only did a baseball tee, and it was the Kruger Industries Cyclones. Nice. And it was that slogan on the jersey said, "You can truly see that we don't care." And instead of a jersey, they played in a baseball tee. I'm like, that's so on brand. This year they did a regular jersey, but they were the Pretty Boys.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which I think is cool, but I'll just go to their story. It's on their story or Instagram, because they have the jerseys in the shop still. I wonder if they still have like jerseys from years past. I would bet. They're a minor league team. They'll do anything for money.
I know. Oh, they had the Wiz, it looks like, doing contests. And you had to, it looks like they did pin the mustache on Keith Hernandez. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Man, that would be so fun. What's that contest with the balloons? Oh, the Ass Man contest. Oh my gosh. You had to pop balloons with your ass.
Okay, if you go down like 15 posts on their feed, on their grid, you'll see there's the t-shirt, which on the back is last name Spitter number 2, because there was a second Spitter.
Yeah.
And then right below that is the jerseys, because there's the Pretty Boys and there's the Bubble Boys that they face off against every year.
That's hilarious. That's amazing. And they had their biggest crowd since 2015.
Yeah, they had 7,000 people by the time, at least on the story, it said they had 7,000 people by the time Take Me Out to the Ball Game was sang, which is great.
The total was 8,112.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's incredible.
Washington Wild Things, take note. I will go down that's our like local minor league team. I mean, I'd say Pirates, but who wants to go to a Pirates game, even if it's Seinfeld night, you know? I'm just kidding. I do want to go to a Pirates game, but Wild Things Park is where the Four Chord Music Festival takes place every year. And Ted, I think we made this happen because I bring it up. I brought it up throughout season 7, but Yellow Card was the headliner this year, playing Ocean Avenue in full.
Oh my God!
I know. I was like, that would have been pretty cool.
All right.
Should we get going?
Might as well, yeah.
All right. Welcome to No Hugging, No Learning.
It's a show about one thing: watching Curb Your Enthusiasm for the first time.
I'm Tim Murphy.
And I'm Ted Hollowell.
And today we will be talking about Season 8, Episode 1, The Divorce. But before that, what's the deal with stuff from our last episode, Seinfeld? We wanted to know if, like a couple of other episodes involving the Seinfeld reunion, any other real crew made cameos that we might have been unaware of who they were, but Larry and Jerry brought them back because they were bringing back, the original sets, and why not bring back the original crew, like the casting director we heard we saw in an earlier episode. Randy Carter, who played the first AD on this episode of Curb, he's credited as first AD in the cast list, was second unit or assistant director on 89 episodes of Seinfeld.
Woo!
So that's pretty cool. Before Larry talks to Mocha Joe about Jason Alexander's dogs, the person buying a coffee is Norman Brenner. He's credited as coffee customer in this episode, and he played various, mostly uncredited background roles on 29 episodes throughout all 9 seasons of Seinfeld. Let me just run through some of his roles here: man in party, man in coffee shop, man in store, man on bus, man on sidewalk. Let me see. We get a little more specific here. Coworker, moviegoer, sofa salesman. Oh, we're back to man in bar. Orderly, man on Jerry's sitcom in the show, within a show. Chef, man at airport, man in restaurant. So a lot of that. But he does have two kind of big roles, quote unquote. His second biggest role is probably Bader, an acquaintance that Jerry sees in the back of Monk's. So he has to leave the table so Elaine can tell George and let him in on the prank that it was her voice leaving Jerry a dirty message on his stand-up tape in The Tape back in the day. So, and then the other big role that he had was Ian, a.k.a. Ian, in The Wigmaster, the guy that is introduced to Elaine, and he says his name is Ian, or he says his name is Ian. It's pronounced Ian, but it's spelled I-A-N. So it's like Ian? No, Ian. So that is Norman Brenner, probably his biggest role on Seinfeld. On camera, that is, because he was also Michael Richards' stand-in for all 9 seasons of Seinfeld.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would have been his bigger role, but I guess every so often they were like, hey, we need man in library. Where's Norman? So they grabbed Norman for stuff like that. And Dan Cooley, who played a golfer in Seinfeld. I don't remember any golfing, but he's credited as golfer in this episode. But so Dan Cooley is in the Seinfeld episode of Curb, and he was also location manager for 20 episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So had nothing to do with Seinfeld, but he's a Curb crew member that appeared on camera in this episode. Yeah. When Amanda and George, Cheryl and Jason are getting cozy on the couch and fighting over the popcorn, Jerry says, "This is like the greatest relationship I've ever seen you have on the show. I'm watching Richard Benjamin and Paula Prentice here." And the reference, as Jerry's normally are, completely lost on us. So I found out that this is a reference to the short-lived American sitcom He and She from 1967, which was on CBS in 1967.
A sitcom from 1967. How many episodes did it run, Tim? Did you look that up?
It ran for 1 season on CBS, and then it was canceled, and 29 episodes total ran during that.
That's more than I thought.
Season.
That's more than I thought it would be.
Well, back in the day, remember, they just, like, cranked them out. Like, Gunsmoke would have, like, season 1 is 50 episodes, of course. Like, what? What? No. Jeez.
We have to do an episode a week. What's a season?
What are we going to take a break?
Yeah, what's a season break? The second you take a break, people forget about your show because there's no internet. There's no place to talk about your show.
Now, for all the guff we're giving He and She, it is widely considered, according to Wikipedia, by broadcast historians to have been ahead of its time. Its sophisticated approach to comedy was viewed as opening doors to the groundbreaking MTM family of sitcoms in the 70s, beginning with the Mary Tyler Moore Show in 1970.
All right.
Yeah. But He and She did star, and this is why Jerry mentioned it, real-life married couple Richard Benjamin and Paula Prentice. And they played Dick and Paula Hollister. Dick, a successful cartoonist, and his wife was a social worker. And his cartoon Jetman had become so successful that it was now a network television series starring an egomaniacal actor named Oscar North, played by Jack Cassidy. And he constantly argues with Hollister over the direction of the Jetman character. There's a folk singer actor named Hamilton Camp who played a handyman in the apartment building that they lived in. Kenneth Mars played a firefighter who would often drop in on the Hollisters' apartment via a plank connected to the firehouse across the alley. So I know a lot of, I remember sitcoms kind of using that trope as like, Saved by the Bell had like Zach was always dropping in through to Jesse's window from the tree outside. Clarissa Explains It All. Sam was always putting that ladder up so he could climb into Clarissa's window. And actually, like, now that I'm a dad of a girl, I'm like, if there was a boy regularly sneaking into my daughter's room via a ladder on the side of the house, like, I know they weren't doing anything because it was a Nickelodeon show, but I'm like, not cool. Like, we're gonna put an end to that shit right now. Like, no way. But He and She also won the 1968 Emmy Award for comedy writing and got 4 other Emmy nominations that year, including nominations for Prentice, Benjamin, and Jack Cassidy. So it was kind of like the Arrested Development of its time, like constantly awarded and then canceled by the network. So, like I said, I'm sorry, I highballed it. It was 26 episodes in that season, not 29. But I was surprised to learn as I continued to dig deep in here just how far in showbiz Richard Benjamin and Paula Prentice went. Richard Benjamin, who is still alive, by the way, he's 85. He directed The Money Pit with Tom Hanks in 86, like contributing to Tom Hanks's meteoric rise in the world of acting. My Stepmother is an Alien, which, is a weird sounding movie, but I remember it being very big when it came out, probably because of the weird sounding title. It was just enough to like pull you in and go, what? Mermaids with Cher, which got a lot of award show attention for Winona Ryder, and who else is in that? Alyssa Milano, something like that. He made Made in America. He directed that movie with Ted Danson, star of Curb Your Enthusiasm. He did Milk Money, and Richard Benjamin is in the Two Timers Club on SNL. He hosted SNL twice. I think it was back in like 79 or 80 or something like that. I forget what he was promoting at the time, but he was acting in something around that time that was kind of big. He was later in a 2015 episode of Children's Hospital, so I probably have seen him act. And he's still kicking to this day. Like I said, he has a movie called Men of Divorce that's in post-production right now, and he was in a movie this year with Jonah Hill called You People. Do you remember this, where like Jonah Hill's in an interracial couple and their parents meet? Eddie Murphy is her dad and his dad is David Duchovny, and it's like, very awkward.
This is
racial.
Literally the first time you've heard this. Yeah. And oh my god.
Yeah, very like Look Who's Coming to Dinner or Why Him kind of movie. Of course, the movie ends when Jonah finds out that his black girlfriend went surfing with men and had a good time. So,
of course.
And they break up. Yep. A lot of people say he pulled from his real life for that. Paula Prentice is also still kicking. She's 85 as well. She had a small but pivotal part in the Parallax View back in '74 with Warren Beatty. She was the second lead in the original Stepford Wives movie. She did a lot of Broadway, and her last credit was in 2016 in the gothic supernatural horror I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. And you might be pleased to know that, maybe in spite of all their showbiz success, Paula Prentice and Richard Benjamin are still married, as they have been since 1961.
Wow. That's cool. All right.
So Jerry's reference, albeit completely lost on 99% of the audience, was spot on. But we've never faulted him for that. It's just the fact that no one
It's just the fact that no one knows who he's talking about.
They're usually accurate. It's just it's just your point won't land if no one knows what you're talking about. So Seinfeld is maybe the only Curb Your Enthusiasm episode that has its own wiki page. So here's some other pulls from that. Larry David previously, as we know, I think actually this is maybe from the IMDb page for it. Larry David previously refused to make a Seinfeld reunion, but he thought it would be funny to do it on Curb Your Enthusiasm, stating that it was the perfect way to do something like that, but not to do it under the guise of doing the Curb show. It was very relaxed and loose and easy. And the original sets were used to construct Jerry's apartment in Monk's Cafe, with Jerry's apartment updated to reflect the 11 years that had elapsed since the finale. And you probably noticed there was a new fridge and new stereo equipment and stuff like that in the background. Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld had about 2 million viewers, making it the highest rated season finale of the show in more than 5 years.
Jeez.
Which I guess means season 2's finale was the highest rated before that. And for comparison, though, the series finale of Seinfeld attracted 76.3 million viewers.
I mean, network TV versus pay premium cable.
Premium cable, yeah. There's no comparison.
No comparison.
And it didn't create the fervor enough for people to actually go out and subscribe to HBO so they could see the long-awaited Seinfeld reunion. But hopefully they got a little bit out of it. This season of Curb was nominated for 2 Emmys, including Best Comedy Series, which it lost to Modern Family. And Larry David was nominated for Best Actor, but he lost to Adult Sheldon, Jim Parsons, who was on a run. That's what I call him to differentiate.
That's the funniest way to describe who he is.
Adult
Sheldon.
Yeah, he's not young Sheldon.
He's not young. He's not teen Sheldon. They're getting into teen Sheldon territory now.
Oh boy,
on the
adolescent
show.
Sheldon.
Adolescent Sheldon.
That has a cadence
coming
to
this
it.
fall to Cinemax.
Adult Sheldon was on a run back in the 2000s with Big Bang Theory. He won. He was beating Steve Carell and people who were obviously the roles that were much meatier and better, but people love the Big Bang Theory.
I mean, all he had to do was show up on set and say Bazinga, and they just handed him another award.
Exactly. This is not, no spoilers, but this is not the last we'll see of Mocha Joe. But unlike true Curb fans, we won't have to wait a decade, which, of course, in Curb time, that's only like 3 seasons. But, maybe I've said
we'll be talking about him in, I don't know, like 4 months or so.
Yeah, or not. But it literally is 10 years between his appearance here and his next appearance. But yeah, for us, it's going to be like 4 months. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, wow, it was 10 years. Yeah. But yeah, no, 10 years between season 7 and season 10. Like, what? Yeah, Curb time. We're running on Curb time. So that is it for trivia and tidbits and stuff.
All right. Do we got any other news or anything?
I don't think so. We already covered the Cyclones.
Mm-hmm. Any continuity we need to keep up with?
Not that I saw, although I'm sure if you really dug into the differences between Seinfeld and Curb's version of Seinfeld, there's probably a treasure trove, but nothing that I found.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you have never listened to us before, we are not a research-heavy show, despite the last 28 minutes being almost exclusively research and bullshit. We like to have our questions pop up naturally in the run of the episode and assign them to ourselves the week following as though we are giving ourselves homework. I've never seen these episodes before, and Tim, since we're at the beginning of a new season, let me ask you one more time. Season 8, you did watch that in your original run of watching the show?
I believe I did, yeah.
Okay, so I've never seen these episodes before. Tim has never seen these episodes before in the last 12 years. If we miss anything, if we egregiously skip over anything, please send us an email or send us a tweet. It's at NoHugging on Twitter or NoHugging No Learning Show at gmail.com. We're also over on Instagram. It's at NoHugging_No-Learning. You can find links to all of these down in the show description page. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and a written review over on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify if you use either of those apps. If you've already done that, or maybe you just don't use either of those apps and you like us a little bit more than just a rating or a review, you can join us over on Patreon. It's patreon.com/nohugging, where for $5 a month you can get early access to extended versions of every single one of our episodes, as well as movie reviews every so often. We try and do them like every once a month. Sometimes they fall to the wayside. Tim takes a vacation. Ted gets COVID. Tim's got to go do this thing. Ted has a wrestling booking. Things happen. Life happens.
Yeah.
We're trying to get another one out. But again, that's patreon.com/nohugging. I don't want to be the person who says, look, $5 a month for just the Curb episodes is more than enough. But whatever. We got pigeonholed into doing the extra reviews. Again, patreon.com/nohugging. I want to give a special shout out to our patrons over on Patreon, the people who are actively giving us money. So thank you to Liam M., Michael Klatsky, Drybones, Nate Collins, Tamara Ortiz, the guys and gals over at the Idiotville podcast, John Murphy, Danica Ligorio, J-Dog Conlord, Nick Kudla, Adam Webb, and Megan Stolarski. Thank you guys so much. Again, patreon.com/nohugging. And Tim, one more thing before I wrap up this segment, because we are getting closer. I feel like we should start a countdown because now we have 40 episodes until we have to make another hard shift in whatever the fuck this show is about.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's if...
We have 40 weeks.
That's if the new season is not out by that time. We can hope, I hope they got it done before the strike.
I would think the show is probably going to come out this fall.
Yeah.
The season's going to come out this fall, so
and then we'll have another year.
Just under a year. Another 50 weeks, but we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
But yeah, we should be thinking of what we want the show to become if we want to keep doing the show. That is.
Yeah, I'm game, definitely. I mean, so I have my thoughts, but if anybody else has thoughts, you can tweet at us, thread or X at us and thread at us, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, as of now, we've got 40 more episodes until we got to do something else.
Wow.
All right, so Tim, top episodes of season 7. What are you thinking? So
okay.
What were your starred episodes, I guess, first?
So out of the 7 episodes that I starred in the 10 episodes.
Oh my god.
I would be surprised if you weren't somewhere close to that. I mean, it's tough to be far away from anything between 1 and 10. But I remember, I think when you look, you might. Do you know how many you starred?
I'm looking now.
Okay.
And so I've got 3 full stars.
Full stars. Wow. Okay.
I've got 3 full stars, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 star lows and 1 star high low.
Okay, so you have 2 more than me. You have 9. You star 9 episodes of the 10 episode season. What is the worst episode of season 10? Let's start there. Or season 7, I mean. Yeah.
What's the one that didn't make the cut?
Yes. I bet it's Seinfeld. I bet it's the last episode.
No, Seinfeld got a star low.
Okay, that got a star low. Okay.
Oh my God, it was Funkhauser's crazy sister. Didn't get anything from me.
You know what? It didn't get anything from me either. Not get anything from me either. So we have that in common. All right, before I give away like which one's actually got a star, because I'll go over those in honorable mentions. I'll start 3 to 1. So my number 3 is The Black Swan, which got a star low and was tied at 3 with Officer Krupke. And they're both stellar, funny episodes. They both come full circle, as I love when the end of Curb matches up with what happened at the beginning and Larry. But the question that separates those two is, do you like episodes where Larry comes out on top or where Larry gets his comeuppance? And that is the difference, because in Officer Krupke, Larry comes out on top. The plan works perfectly. He's required to drop his pants and prove Jeff's lie to be true to Susie because he likes wearing women's underwear. And it's got a great tag, too. And it's got that whole runner where the only way to break your neck is in a car accident or cunnilingus. But The Black Swan ends with Larry almost getting away with killing Takahashi's Black Swan. But at the very end, we see that his feud with the Gravedigger has escalated to the point where it says Larry's an asshole who kills swans, and Mr. Takahashi is looking at him, and so Larry did not get away with it. I think that's the better episode when Larry gets his comeuppance. So that's why the Black Swan beat out Krupke for the number 3 spot. Number 2 is The Table Read, which we just went over a couple weeks ago, and just what how that was a better reunion episode than the actual Seinfeld
reunion episode. Yeah.
But number 1, beating it all, was The Reunion, which brought the big 4 back together. It was such a fun reveal that everyone was there, the way they did it, and then he went and collected them all. So it was a real journey that way, getting everybody to say yes, and just very funny and great to see all of our favorite Seinfeld people. So The Reunion was number 1. The Black Swan, The Table Read, The Reunion. My runners up, my honorable mentions go to the most average episode of the season, Vehicular Fellatio, which got the bell curve with an arrow pointing at the middle. Denise Handicap, which got a star low, the only star low of the season. The Hot Towel and Officer Krupke, which got star lows.
All right.
Yeah.
So I let me go through my honorable mentions here. The other 6 episodes that I gave stars to. So we know I didn't give anything to Funkhauser's Crazy Sister, but star lows I've got Vehicular Fellatio, Denise Handicap, The Black Swan, Officer Krupke, and Seinfeld. A star high-low, an honorable mention to The Hot Towel.
Yes. Yeah.
The Hot Towel was my highest star low, was my highest that just didn't make it to full star territory. So full stars, I don't know how I'm going to rank these. Maybe I can talk them out. But I've got The Reunion, I've got The Table Read, and I've got The Bare Midriff.
Wow. Tough one.
Yeah. So, okay. I think I like The Table Read better than The Reunion. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put The Table Read in front of The Reunion. But what did I like about The Bare Midriff?
Yeah, let me see. I mean, there was Larry's piss splashback. There was him grabbing onto the midriff to save his own life.
That's right.
All the napkins.
Do I want to put The Bare Midriff at 2 and put The Reunion at 3?
I think that would shock the world, but it's your list.
I think I gotta do that. I think I'm going The Reunion at 3, The Bare Midriff at 2, and The Table Read at number 1.
Fair enough. A good list. Yeah, The Table Reading and The Reunion are really, to me, interchangeable, kind of. That's why number 2 and 1. But just like you, we were totally on the same page as far as The Hot Towel, Krupke, and Black Swan. Even though I gave those all lows, it sounded like they were on the same level that you were thinking.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. That closes. And just to close out season 7 entirely, I take notes in my my bootleg Amazon, JPEG blown up, like 20 kilobyte JPEG blown up to, what should be a 10 megabyte JPEG front cover of a journal. And then inside, and it's fittingly right at the end of season 7, there's about 5 or 6 pages of some German novel that are just like placed in the middle. Yeah, as like, because everything else is lined journal pages, but I get to the end of season 7 and I'm like, what the? And it's, Dirt sie fast durchgangig als verwünscht Celine versus Zulf. And I'm like, how do I Google to find out what this is? Like, my mom, luckily, majored in German in college, so I'm like, maybe she can read this. But I'm like, what if it's Mein Kampf or something like that?
Oh,
what if it's
Jesus Christ?
I know. What if it's
what if it's the one famous book in German that I know?
Yeah, I know. That's the only thing I can think. I don't think it is, because I don't see any words that he might have used a lot. But then again, maybe I don't know the German translation for those. I just thought it was really weird that this is in here. But it's a good separation. Yeah, it's a good separation. But there's even a little little song in here. Vergebens der Alten, sie soll es bebalten, sie sei uns im unachten Jahr so gut wie sie es diesmal war. So it says dismal war as far as I can see.
Yeah,
I mean,
all right.
So I don't know. There's something fishy here. I hope I didn't just like read some white supremacist chant that they've picked up over the years on our podcast. But yeah,
that's the thing that gets played out of context whenever we're both dead.
Yeah. So
you're about ready to receive a posthumous award for like human achievement, and they're like, "Wait
a second,
stop!"
Yeah. So just something weird I had to throw in there at the end, and that is it from season 7. I promise.
All right. Well, all that being said, season 8, episode 1, The Divorce. Original air date July 10th, 2011. We're skipping ahead a couple of years, and also going back to earlier in the year. We haven't had a summer series in a while. I think it's mostly been fall, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're looking in TV Guide that night, you are going to see season 8 premiere, period. It's lazy getting lazier. Larry learns his divorce lawyer isn't kosher and rescinds a cookie order from a Girl Scout.
Well,
just give away the whole episode there, why don't you?
Yeah, I guess that's the problem. Yeah,
just give away everything that happens.
Yeah, because I was like, it does. That is a synopsis, but really, when we say synopsis, we don't mean literally like plot summary. We try to make it a little teasy, try to make it seem like they'd want to get people to watch.
It's the tease.
Yeah,
it's the art of the tease. I mean, we've talked before. We both are from the radio background. You gotta tease people. You gotta lure them in. You can't just give them everything up front.
Give them like 75% or 60% or whatever it is, and then the rest of it is what got them to hang around.
You got to show them everything but the nipple, Tim.
There you go, exactly. So we will see if we can make it better at the end. We probably will be able to. So season 8, episode 1 does not start with Frolic and the title card, but instead with the last few minutes of the last scene of season 7, episode 10.
I thought this was actually really, really cool.
Yeah, and was it reshot? Did you get the feeling that it was reshot?
It may have just been like an alternate take.
Yeah, because it continues on past what we saw happening in the last episode, and we see Cheryl storming out of the house, finally done with Larry, and that's when Frolic starts to play. And that's the end of the episode. No, I'm just kidding. And then we cut to, after the title card, 1 year later, Larry is talking to his divorce lawyer, a.k.a. Paul F. Tompkins.
Yeah. But I mean, before we get into PFT, I legitimately thought they were divorced already. I thought they were divorced already in the last episode, in the finale of season 7, because I was even saying it's not Cheryl having an affair because they're already divorced. I just thought they were divorced already.
Yeah, I know, and they kept saying ex-wife and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But and so it really muddied the waters as far as whether they were separated or actually married. But yeah, evidently they were just separated, and so now they're divorced. But we see the great Paul F. Tompkins. I wish he had more of a recurring role because he's one of the quickest, funniest improvisers just on the planet. He's so damn funny.
Oh my God, talking about the desk that he has, and Larry's like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of room under this desk. It'd be a perfect desk to get a blowjob under. And just right back, PFT is like, well, it wasn't my intent, but we'll call it a happy accident.
Yeah, that line stuck out to me too as something that he just kind of threw in there. So we'll have to put it down and see. I think he was I feel like he was well on his way by 2011.
Oh, he was absolutely on at least best week ever by this point, because I was watching best week ever all through high school. And July of 2011, I had already graduated high school.
So he was definitely, this is definitely comic actor makes guest appearance on popular HBO sitcom. But we'll still try to figure out, maybe do a shallow dive on Paul F. Tompkins for that reason. He got Larry a great deal. He gets to keep the house, he gets to keep all his property, and he will look like a good guy while coming out ahead. That's how good of a deal this is. Larry's not going to look like he's leaving Cheryl with nothing. The lawyer tries to use the pie metaphor. He's like, you get all the pie filling. She's just getting the top that looks kind of pretty or whatever. And Larry misses the metaphor completely. Instead, he wants to...
He's just thinking about pie. He's just thinking about literal, actual pie. Yeah, he's like, but I like that part. I like that part better than the actual filling.
Yeah, and so he's forced to flip them. He's like, fine, she gets the filling. You get the crumbly part on top. And Larry's like, yeah. That's what it was about. You didn't understand the metaphor. You had to flip it to your actual personal preference. Well, but I like that part. Okay, but the good part, we all agree, is the inside. The top part just makes it look pretty and adds a little something, sure. But that's my favorite part. It's like, okay, flip the metaphor. And the lawyer's name is Berg, as Larry keeps referring to him.
Do we get his first name?
No, not here. We do eventually.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's still just calling him Berg. And in the lobby, Larry leaves before... he doesn't want to be in on the meeting, but he does run into Cheryl and her lawyer in the lobby. Cheryl's lawyer is David Rabinowitz. And Larry thinks he should have recused himself because, a bald guy going against another bald guy is against bald code. And we find out that Larry is giving Cheryl all of the bedding and the pillows that he didn't even like anyway. So that's kind of the deal that she's getting, I guess. And Larry says that he can call Cheryl's lawyer Baldy because, quote, it's like black people calling each other the N-word.
And he uses the N-word. He
just says
the N-word.
Yeah, he doesn't drop the hard R, but still he says it, and I'm like, how does he keep getting away with this? His friend was canceled. Before canceling was a thing. Michael Richards never worked another day in his life after that, besides the Seinfeld reunion, but he never did another thing, because of saying that on stage. And it's like Larry has said it now. What are we up to, Ted?
Oh, The Larry David N-word count is up to a loose 9 because I'm not totally sure.
Why did he have to say it this time? He could have said the N-word. First of all, he didn't have to say it at all.
Yeah, I honestly have to go back to the last episode where he was saying it, which I think was last season. We went a long time in between him saying it.
Yes.
And now we're like, 2 seasons in a row. Cool.
I'm sure it was the episode The N-Word.
Oh, probably. Because I, for whatever reason, felt more confident in how many times he had said it to that point, and including those instances, because he says it twice in that episode.
Yeah.
Everyone else says it a lot more.
Yeah,
But Larry says it only twice. That was a big revelation in the episode, because I remember telling you that, and you're like, no way he only says it twice.
For as liberal as Larry is for whatever, for a Hollywood Democrat or whatever, this is the most conservative boomer thing he does. Is how come? Oh, you mean they can say it and we can't say it? Yes. How do old people not understand that? It's geez. Why do you want to say it so bad? So yeah, that was a little shocking part of this episode that I'm like, how has no one taken Larry David to task on this yet? But he's also practicing a tick to do when he goes out dating to see if the woman will mention it or not.
This is so gross. Gross. Because out of nowhere, he's like, hey, I'm going to go and pretend I have Tourette's. What do you think?
Yeah. Make fun of fake mental illness to to conduct like some sort of human experiment to see if. But then again, I mean, so taking the mental illness, part out of it, I've heard women, maybe men do. I'm sure men do stuff like this too. But it's like the women you always hear. Maybe not always. Maybe it's gone out of fashion. Maybe this is a boomer thing too. But like they would test men during dates, like to see if they open the door for them or whatever, and they drop in these little quizzes, these little pop quizzes throughout the test to see how the man would react, and then judge their how good of a date they were or whatever, just based on that. Like they would sit in the car until he opened the door or whatever, and go, okay. Oh, okay, he didn't open the door. That's he failed that quiz or whatever. So. So that's the kind of thing that Larry says he's doing. It's a human experiment. So over at Ocean Avenue Seafood, which is another Ocean Avenue ref this episode, which was at 1401 Ocean Avenue in Santa Monica, right across from the beach there. It was there since 1986, but it closed in 2013. Don't know why, but it was replaced by Water Grill, which is still there. And that is where Larry, or Ocean Avenue Seafood, rather, Larry is telling Jeff about Berg, that he's the sharpest. Here, does he say, I got the sharpest Jewish lawyer? Or does he say, I got the sharpest Jewist lawyer?
I don't know, actually, because I thought he said the words Jewist.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm not totally sure.
I got the sharpest Jewist lawyer, divorce lawyer. But maybe he didn't say sharpest Jewish divorce lawyer in town. And Jeff says, Jeff tries to say to Susie, who we see is there, you know what, if we get... At first, Susie's not in frame, so I thought he was talking to Larry. It was a very weird reveal that he was talking to Susie, because he was like, if we ever get divorced, 50-50, you take whatever you want, I'll take whatever's left. And then the camera, reveals that Susie is there. And Susie informs Jeff that it will not be a happy divorce.
Yeah, he's just trying to set the stage for, a hypothetical, happy 50-50 divorce. You take what you want, I'll take what's left, call it a day. She's like, oh, absolutely not, motherfucker. I'm taking you for everything that you have. I'm taking your balls and I'm tacking them to the wall. And she even says, you will rue the day that you met me. Yeah. And then it's just silence. And then Funkhauser jumps in with, all right, so.
That was a hilarious reveal, too. Not only is it Larry and Susie and Jeff, which would have been awkward in and of itself.
Yeah, but then the camera out at lunch. They're out at lunch with Marty and Nan.
Nan are there, and he's like, guess what? He has to break the silence. That was such a funny reveal, a hilarious reveal. And you can tell that the look on Jeff's face was he was like, if you even say the D word, you're going to regret the day you ever met me, or whatever she says. And you can tell that Jeff is thinking, I already do. I'm already there.
I already do.
But Funk's big news, Marty Funkhauser's big news, is that he is going to London for 3 weeks on business. And then Larry asks Nan if she's going, which Funkhauser is visibly perturbed at. He's like, oh, why aren't you going? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I never travel with him, and he'll be doing busy and stuff. But she's like, well, maybe I should go. And Larry's like, it's beautiful this time of year. And she's like, is it? And I love Funkhauser's line here. No, it's cold and foggy and dangerous. Cold and foggy and dangerous. They have gangs and all that going on. So no, you don't want to come. But Nan decides that she does want to go to London. She is in. And Marty is pissed at Larry for bringing it up, which is hilarious. And then Larry runs into Joel O'Donnell, who's the owner of the Dodgers, and also Gary Cole, who is a famous, actor that's been in tons of stuff. People may recognize him from Office Space. He plays Peter's boss in Office Space, Lumbergh, and, a bunch of other stuff. And he is there with Jessica St. Clair, who is also these days kind of a big time comic actor, I would say. But I wonder, I'm going to have to write her down, Jessica St. Clair, because maybe even by this point she had had her little guest spot on The Office or whatever. But I definitely recognized her. So we'll have to put her in, and maybe Gary Cole. I don't know. He was probably, he was well on his way. He had been working for years when this movie came out, or when the show came out. And her name is Anna. It never comes back up, but Susie says Anna and I do Pilates together. And I was like, oh, okay, the relationship with Susie is going to come back up. It's a good thing we know that they know each other. Nope. Nope. Just a little bit of character backstory
sure doesn't come back.
Yeah, a little bit of improv character backstory that we didn't need. And Joel invites Larry to the owner's box to see a game, and they can like commiserate because they're both getting a divorce, and they both have the same lawyer. They both are using Berg, and so they can commiserate as two divorced dudes. Oh, and by the way, Joel's daughter is selling Girl Scout cookies, so everybody expect a knock on your door. So as Joel leaves, Larry decides he's going to go to the buffet, and he loads up, and everyone's like, oh, man, all we got is shitty salads. We should have gotten the buffet. Look at that. There's shrimp and crab legs and mashed potatoes. And Jeff's like, oh, let me try the mashed potatoes. I wanted to try those. And he's like, yeah, take a couple shrimp, too. Take a crab leg. What do you know? And then the manager comes over and informs Larry that because you got the buffet, you can't share with people who did not get the buffet. They ordered off the menu, so you can't get. And Larry's like, what's the difference? It's all you can eat. And the manager's like, yeah, it's all you can eat. Now you gave it to him, and it's all he can eat. And so you need to. And by the way, this terrifies me whenever I go. Like, I've been to buffets, and Sarah is like Larry. She does not care about the rule of the buffet. She'll I remember one time specifically going to meet somebody at a buffet, and we weren't eating there. We were just meeting them there to leave later. And she's like taking stuff off their plates. And I'm like, damn it, they're going to see you and they're going to charge you for a buffet. And of course it doesn't happen. But still, I'm like, this is so against the rules. We cannot do this. And so I kind of am on. I understand the manager coming over and saying something. I think that it is probably, restaurant policy that you can't share off the buffet with somebody who ordered off the menu, even though it doesn't make any sense because it's all you can eat anyway. Like, what if Larry got that and then he left it on his plate? What would be the difference?
Yeah, there'd be no difference.
And so over comes Hiram Katz, attorney at law. He interjects and says, well, first of all, there's nothing that says what he can do with the food once he gets it. There's nothing in the policy that's expressed that what people can do with the food once it's in their possession. And also, if you're saying that he stole a second buffet, well, stealing requires prior intent. Can you prove prior intent? Or are you going to apologize to these people and offer them a free round of drinks? And that's what the manager does. He backs down immediately in the face of Hiram Katz, attorney at law. And everyone, Larry especially, is very impressed with what he just saw transpire because Hiram Katz doesn't like to see people taken advantage of like that. So back at home, Leon is very excited that Larry is getting the hookup at the Dodgers game because that's going to be great for us, as he says. And Larry's like, what are you talking about? And Leon says the hookup always comes with a +1. And Larry says, no, it doesn't. This is my thing. And Leon's like, when I get the hookup, I'll hook you up. And Larry's like, you don't get the hookup. And so they have a little fight about that. But that's when Kira comes by, Kira O'Donnell, selling her Girl Scout cookies. And Larry is, doing his buddy Joel a solid. He orders 5 boxes of each Girl Scout cookie, which, by the way, is not far off of my order. Well, I don't know. It's not. I usually get I've gotten a lot. I remember one time, who used to sell them in our office? I think it was like the niece of
the traffic director.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so so it is done this way. You order them and then you can pay for them later.
Yeah,
And so I remember, so I was in the office with Jessica and she called and she was like, oh, the money's due for the Girl Scout cookies. And Jessica was like, okay, how much do I owe? And she's like, okay, and how much does Murphy owe? She's like, oh my God. I was like, what? I didn't even get that much. But I would order
like $5 or $6 a box now.
I know, yeah.
And if you're getting more than a few boxes, it adds up very quick.
It does. So I would get like one of each. There are some that I don't care for, so I'll get like probably average of one of each because I get like 2 boxes of Samoas. Sometimes 2 boxes of Thin Mints. Definitely 2 boxes of Tagalongs, and then 1 box of Do-si-dos. 1 box of what are some? I can't think of the other ones. The s'mores I had to get 2 of last time because those are my favorite Girl Scout cookies now. Oh my God, stuff that says s'mores does not hit the right balance that the s'mores Girl Scout cookie does. It is the best representation of a
The s'mores Girl Scout cookie is like A+.
It's the best representation of what a s'more tastes like that's not a s'more without being a s'more, which is what I love because I hate s'mores because they're so damn messy and it's like the worst way to eat what tastes like a s'more is a s'more. It's thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you for coming to my Tim Talk, more like
it. Larry orders all these cookies, and while he is filling out the order form, Kira has her first period. And
Jesus Christ.
yeah, and Larry, he panics a little bit, but he's trying to keep everybody calm because he's like, you know what? I was married. My wife has a bunch of stuff. I'll go get some of that. And so he comes back downstairs with some of Cheryl's tampons, tampon brand tampons. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah, I did.
I love the fake
tampon brand tampons.
I buy tampon brand tampons.
Jesus. Also, in Larry's like manic, anxious state, why isn't one of the things that he feels he needs to do call her father?
I agree. Yeah, he could have grabbed a cordless phone. Yeah,
like someone on this writing staff does not have the right anxiety to be writing Larry's anxiety. Does that make sense? Because like I've seen something like this. Okay, not like this exact thing, but I've seen like a manic, anxious episode like this happen.
Yeah.
And the first thing you do is question everything. And part of that is, okay, I need to call the person who's in charge of her, let them know, make sure everything's okay. And just Larry skips over a very pivotal step.
Or how about even he could have given her the phone while he ran and got other stuff, because I'm sure that
I'm sure Larry doesn't want to talk to her dad about his daughter having her first period.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that would have been like, all right, here's a cordless phone or whatever. I think there's even a phone like right there in the foyer.
It's right there, I think.
So you call your parents. I'll run upstairs and grab some stuff, and then we'll figure this out. But no, he takes matters into his own hands, as it were. And so Larry brings some of these down, and she goes into the bathroom with one, but they both have no idea what they're doing. She's like, I never used one of these before. I thought this actress was great. It's like the tone that she was pulling from the other side of the door, like having to act without being able to, we couldn't see her face or anything. Just her voice was like, it was pulled off so well. But yeah, she's like, what do you mean? He's like reading the instructions literally that come with it. He's like, okay, put your 2 fingers on the applicator. She's like, I don't know what that is. What are you talking about? It's so funny. And he's like, okay. He's like, oh, you push it. Oh, you push it through. Like, I love Larry as like a 60-year-old man or whatever. Also, never having to have done this.
Yeah, who's using a tampon for the first time ever.
Yeah. And so eventually they figure it out together. She's like, okay, all right, I think I got it. And he's like, okay. And so driving later after all of this, up pulls next to Larry a man on a motorcycle who turns out to be Berg, his lawyer, on a motorcycle. So over at Jeff's, he tells him about seeing Berg on a motorcycle. And he's like, I can't recall ever having seen a Jew on a motorcycle. And
God damn it.
Yeah. And Jeff asked him if he's ever been on a motorcycle. And he's like, I was on a motor scooter once. I got about 50 feet and fell over. So that was it. And Susie comes in. She's dressed in like a camo top and pants, or maybe it was a dress or something, whatever it is. Larry calls her General Petraeus, which is hilarious, and is like digging in like, thank you for your service, by the way. And once again, Susie has to defend her outfit as this is fashion. This is in fashion right now. You're the one out of touch. And by the way, she tells him that O'Donnell is really upset at what conspired with his daughter, and the tickets and the owner's box are now in jeopardy. He's probably not going to get to go to that game anymore. And so Larry is like, all right, I guess I'll apologize or whatever. Go talk about that. What was I supposed to do? And so Marty comes over and he yells at Larry for ruining his vacation. He was going to get 3 weeks away from Nan, where he wasn't going to be talked over and he didn't have to think about her or, just live in his mundane existence. And Larry ruined it because now he's traveling with him. And Larry's like, this was such a great moment, because the way it just ends, he's like, why don't you get a divorce? He's like, I'm too lazy. Smash cut. Like, there was no sitting on that, which was perfect. It was so excellently executed. Why don't you get a divorce? I'm too lazy. Boom, next scene. I loved that. So over at Joel's house, the housekeeper has been instructed to not let Larry David into the house, to just shut the door on him because of what happened with Kira. And Larry, tries to defend himself. Like, I didn't do anything inappropriate with Miss Kira. No, I did what I had to do. And he's like, what about the tickets to the game? And she's like, what? The housekeeper is like, there's not going to be And he's like, I'm still. She was like, do you have a ticket? She's like, then there's no ticket. He's like, I told him I was interested in a ticket. I loved this too. And she was like, I'm interested. It doesn't mean I have a ticket. The cook's interested. The chauffeur's interested. We're all interested. We don't have tickets. I loved that. I'm interested. The chef's more interested than I am. He doesn't have a ticket. We're interested in going to Dodgers games, and we work for the guy. So yeah, no ticket and no conversation with Joel. So back at home, Cheryl is there collecting some things from the bedroom. You know, they're both kind of, it's a very amicable parting, the kind that Jeff was hoping for with Susie. But, you know, he's like, it was like grade school. You know, you get through it and then it's over and done with. And she's like, oh, really? Did you learn some things from marriage? And he was like, I wouldn't be tongue scraping if it wasn't for you. She's like, oh, so that's what you pulled out of our marriage. Okay, tongue scraping. Not anything about interpersonal relationships, just personal hygiene. And Larry, you know, he's got to shoot his shot because he's got a woman in his bedroom. So he has to see what the chances are they'll have sex. Not on the table, unfortunately, but you can't blame him for asking because he didn't get the breakup sex. You know, he didn't get anything the night of the Seinfeld reunion. So this was probably his last shot at anything like that with Cheryl. I'm kind of surprised she didn't go for it, actually, you know, but what are you going to do? And Cheryl says that she knows somebody who went to high school with Larry's lawyer over at St. Christopher's. And Larry's like, what? Berg went to St. Christopher's? Isn't that a Catholic school? And Cheryl's like, yeah. And even she, I think, had like kind of a knowing, like, Larry thought his lawyer was Jewish. And I'm about to, what's the meme? I'm about to wreck this man's whole career. That's what it is.
Okay.
I'm about to end this man's whole career. That's what it is. I'm about to end this man's whole career. And it goes with the gif of the guy who's looking all smug and then the guy who's making like the Kevin from Home Alone face that swipes by the screen and causes the gif to loop. You know what I'm talking about? Like the rap battle gif. I don't know. If you Google it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's tough to explain. Okay. But yeah, so that's what Cheryl's smile said. I'm about to end this man's whole career. Which, talking about Berg, because Larry goes right to Berg's. Actually, he doesn't go right to Berg's. The Girl Scouts ring the bell to collect the money for the cookies. And Hollywood elite, Hollywood Democrat, Larry David has to commend them on their demographics because, as he points out, we have a black and an Asian. And he asked the other, you know, little girl who is white, I don't suppose you're Jewish, are you? And she goes, no. Like, even the Girl Scouts are like, why do we have to be talking about this? And he's like, oh, well. But he's like, by the way, I am not paying for those cookies. I don't want them anymore because of the little tiff that he had with Kira's dad, Joel. And so he slams the door on the Girl Scouts without paying for the cookies. Then he goes over to Berg's to confront him about his non-Jewishness. And Berg goes, oh, yeah, no, why did you think I was Jewish? And Larry, you know, pretty much accuses him of trying to make people think that he is Jewish. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, it was my birthday. You said Mazel Tov. He's like, yeah, because you're Jewish. And he's like, when I asked you if you were going to the temple for high holidays, you said no. He's like, yeah, because I'm not going, because I'm not. And so at first I was on Berg's side here where I'm like, oh, Larry just wanted him so bad, but it does turn
just
around.
A lot of very funny coincidences.
Yeah, I guess in the temple thing, Larry, he feels like Berg should have said, oh, no, you know, I'm not Jewish in that instance. But instead he just said, no, I'm not going to temple. But Berg's subtext was, no, I'm not going to temple because I'm Catholic. Larry's was, oh, no, I'm just not going to temple, but I usually would, or whatever. But it does turn when Berg goes, oi, Larry, what's with the... And he's like, there you go, you said oi. And he's like, it's a common expression. So it's at this point that I'm on Larry's side. Yeah. It does. He's like, you have a shofar on your desk. He's like, I get gifts. I put them out. People give me things. I don't know what it is. You know, the shofar is like that horn that they blow on one of the high holidays. I don't know enough, you know, to even remember what that is. But he's like, look, I get gifts. So that's one of them. So is the mezuzah by the door. So we do know from watching Curb that what the mezuzah is. So he has that by the door. So Berg is definitely trying to make people think that he's Jewish. But when he's caught, he doesn't try to, you know, he doesn't
try to hide it.
Yeah, he doesn't try to hide it. It's just he was lying by omission so well that, you know, when he does get called on it, he has plausible deniability. But he is Swedish, in fact. Berg is that kind of Berg, like a Bergen, and not like, you know, not the Jewish Berg. So yeah, he's Swedish. So back at home, he called, they're playing pool with Leon, Jeff, and Leon and Larry. And he's like, you know what, Berg, when I first met him, he called me a big macher. And he's like, he enunciated it like that. He's like, yeah, he hit the CH macher. Mocker. She's like, he called me for lunch one day and asked me if I wanted to go get a nosh. And so this has all, been a pattern of Berg trying to, make people think that he is in fact Jewish. Marty Funkhauser comes by, and guess what? He's getting a divorce. And Leon tells Funkhauser that he's got to get some new ass because he ran that old ass into the ground, right? And he won't let Funkhauser out of the conversation until he agrees that he ran the old ass into the ground. I like Marty still being like, I don't want to talk about my wife that way. He's like, but you did run that ass into the ground, right? It's like, let's not talk. You ran that old ass into the ground, right? He's like, I don't know. I like that he insisted that he say he ran that old ass into the ground, and he's got to get some new ass. And Jeff is jealous because everyone's getting a divorce now, and Leon's single anyway. He doesn't even need a divorce, but now Larry and Funk are going to be single, and Jeff is jealous. But this is another instance where, I think, is it Funkhauser who asks for Berg's information or whatever? He's like, oh yeah, I want to call Berg. And it's like, you know what? He's not really Jewish. And then Funkhauser goes, I was over at his house for Hanukkah. So that's how deep this goes, that Berg will actually celebrate Hanukkah with people he knows, to make them think he's Jewish. Over at Dodger Stadium, which this looks like a real office at the real Dodger Stadium. I mean, I don't think this was like a set piece that they wheeled in behind. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like that was actually the office and the field back there. Like, I don't know if it was
I don't know.
The owner's office. Yeah.
But, I mean, it could very easily be a set with a green screen.
Totally. Yeah. Or even like a big matte painting behind it or something. But yeah, it sure looked like the real Dodger Stadium there at the office. And Larry is telling Joel about Berg. I think that's how we got to Marty's line about it. Because he was like, oh, you know what? I got to tell Joel about Berg not being Jewish. And so he goes over there and he tells him, he's like, wow, thanks for giving me the heads up. And we cut to Larry. He's like, what are we going to do now? And we cut to Larry hiring Hiram Katz, attorney at law. And then 1 month later, Larry and Funk are two single guys at the ball game. And I guess Larry's hookup does come with a +1 because
I guess so.
He's brought Funk. Yeah.
He brought the funk.
And they go up to the owner's box entrance, but their names are not on the list. And but we're friends of the owner, Joel O'Donnell, and the ushers inform them, oh, Joel lost the team in the divorce. He doesn't own the team anymore. Was this not on Los Angeles or even national news that the owner of a baseball team lost it? That would make national news.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a huge deal, but also I could very easily see Larry just not knowing it. But
I don't know.
But Marty would probably know it.
Yes. Yeah, Marty, we've seen at Dodgers games before in pretty good seats. He was there in the carpool lane episode. Mm-hmm. But this would be talked about in Los Angeles, like our sports team is changing hands because of a divorce. This $1 billion property.
Unless it was like that afternoon.
It sure seems like it, right? But how are they able to take everybody off the list at the game the day he lost the team? Like, what? And she was able to put all, because there is a list. So those must have been all of her friends.
Yeah.
On the list.
Hey, it's a Google Doc. It's 2011. It's a Google Doc.
It's an updated Google Doc.
Yeah. Control X.
Hang on.
All the existing names.
And it happened right as the game was starting, and they refreshed it, and they printed it out and put it on the
absolutely
what's it called, the clipboard. Yeah, wait, okay, we always wait until the last second to print that Google Doc for the clipboard.
Absolutely. We have to wait until 5:00 on the dot to print out the Google Doc.
Right when gates open.
You're right when gates open. Absolutely.
And so Joel lost the team in the divorce, which was not on the news because it just happened. And the reason I agree with you that it happened that day is because what happens in a second here, Larry speeds over. He's like, wait a minute. Funkhauser's like, wait, aren't you guys using the same lawyer now? He's like, oh my God. And Cheryl's meeting with him to sign the papers. So Larry speeds over to the meeting, runs into Joel, who is coming down the elevator.
So I'm guessing his papers had just been signed.
Yeah, and then they, maybe she called them, was like, you know what, reprint that Google Doc. I made one little change. I deleted all the names, put all my friends on there. So reprint that Google Doc. They're like, ma'am, it's the first inning. She's like, I don't care. I own the team. I'm the owner now. So print the new one, and then kick everybody out that's already in there. We're going to do a full reset for this game, and if they're not on the list. Yeah, that's why I agree with you that it just happened that he lost the team, and it wasn't breaking news, and Larry doesn't listen to the radio, so we know that he wouldn't have heard about it until after. Life comes at you fast. Even when a small change, like all it takes is one little signature on a line for a Major League Baseball team to switch hands in an afternoon. And so Joel, because he suggested this shitty lawyer to him, socks him in the face, and Larry comes to, surrounded by helpful bystanders, including one who offers him a tampon for his bloody nose. And it's at that point that Cheryl comes out of the elevator, and we find out that she got the house. And so Larry has 24 hours to remove himself from the premises. And she also, of course, remarks, like, what do you have up your nose? And he's like, it's a tampon for the bloody nose. Stop the bleeding. And so back at home, Leon and Larry are packing. Leon's very, upset at the fact that he has to move again, especially with the house full of memories, like the time he fucked two bitches in Larry's bed.
Jesus Christ.
And Larry's like, you had sex with two women in my bed? He's like, yeah, you know how hard it is to have sex with two people in a twin bed? So that's why. That's when a gang of Girl Scouts comes at the door. He tries slamming the door on them again, but there's a Girl Scout that stops the slam with her foot as Larry fights to close the door. And that is when Frolic starts to play. And that is the end of the episode.
All right. Tim, what do we got for homework this week?
Paul F. Tompkins, what was he up to around 2011? What about Jessica St. Clair? And then, I recognized, did you recognize one of the security guards? I didn't recognize.
I don't know.
I didn't recognize the big one. I recognized the shorter one. And I think that's Eugene Cordero. I want to see if I recognize him from anything. So I'm going to write that down. The security guard number 1, I think, is who he played. But if it's not him, I'll get the name right next week. But I do want to look to see where I recognize him. And that's it.
All right. What do you like for cover art this week?
Ah, man. Good question, as it always is, and I'm never prepared. Something with Larry and Paul F. Tompkins would be great, or Larry shaking hands when he hires Hiram Katz is pretty good too. Because I loved the disparity, and the only is this straight up racist? I know it goes back to the Seinfeld, like if I like the race, how is it racist? And we kind of unpacked that when he said, "Oh, I've always wanted to date a Chinese woman. I love," and Elaine's like, "Isn't that racist?" And he was like, "If I like," and we were like, "Yes, like fetishizing a race is still racist because you have an idea in their head, you're stereotyping in your head. They just happen to be good stereotypes, Yeah. And so this is racist that Larry doesn't want a lawyer simply because he's Jewish, even though he was doing a better job, and he hires Hiram Katz because he thinks he's going to do a better job just because he's Jewish. It really is, if I like them, how is it racist? But it is still a little bit, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah. Maybe not even a little bit, but I still love the disparity between Paul F. Tompkins and between Berg and Katz's offices, because Berg's office is like that slick LA, the marble desk they even point out.
Yeah, like high up in a tower.
Yeah, it's a penthouse. Yeah, it's spacious. And Berg's office is like a closet with like papers everywhere and books like scattered, and just like there's no order to it at all. And it's so small. And I liked the disparity between those two. But maybe him shaking hands with Katz in that office would be a good cover art. What are you thinking?
Okay. I was thinking just like something with him and either of the lawyers. I don't think there is a two-shot of him and Berg, but I'll look for something.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we can do about this week's description.
All right.
So we had season 8 premiere, period. Larry learns his divorce lawyer isn't kosher, and rescinds a cookie order from a Girl Scout.
I don't think the Girl Scouts have anything to do with this.
I don't think they need to be included in this whatsoever.
But the lawyers is good. So we have, what is this too broad? Like Larry navigates his divorce settlement? Is that too broad? Is that basically all that happens?
That's basically it. Okay, here. What about Larry convinces a friend to get divorced because we all think it's going to be Jeff?
Yeah. Do you want to include Larry navigates his divorce? What did I say? His divorce settlement. Larry navigates his divorce settlement and convinces a friend to get divorced?
Nah.
Okay.
One of those is good. I like. How about Larry navigates his divorce settlement and learns that his lawyer is not Jewish?
Yeah, does that give too much away? I mean, could it be like Larry navigates his divorce settlement and, questions whether he has the best lawyer or something like that? That's wordy, but Larry navigates his divorce settlement but begins to doubt whatever, his lawyer.
Larry tries to find the best lawyer as he navigates his divorce settlement.
Yeah. I like that.
There we go. There we go. That'll do it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's settle right there. Fine with
All
that.
right, Tim. Did you like this episode?
Yeah, it was a good season premiere. I think it did what a season premiere is supposed to do, and we're sort of, setting the stage for single Larry. This scene, we're going to be in a new house. Leon's still there. Funk's getting a divorce, and so we're sort of like, this could be like a prologue, I think, to what's going to be. I don't know what the main overarching theme of this season is. Maybe it is Larry back on the dating scene or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it got the job done. It was funny. I got a lot of great laughs out of it. I'm not going to give it a star or anything because it didn't blow me away like some other, like at least one other premiere has. But it was a great, average, solid premiere. What about you?
I'm in the same boat. The season premieres have not been the best episodes of the season in multiple seasons.
Yeah.
I have a pattern now of not really giving much love to season premieres. And I think it's just, there's too much exposition. It's trying to set up all of these new things, and a lot of it kind of falls flat. Now, I will say, I think this is one of the best season premieres, but I still don't think it's getting a star or even a star low for me.
Yeah. I think Meet the Blacks was maybe the only one that both of us had ever starred as far as season premieres go. I think so, too. Yeah. And so, yeah, I just flipped back to my season 6 notes, and that was the season 6 premiere was Meet the Blacks, and that got a star. And for both of us, Funkhauser's Crazy Sister certainly didn't get a star last season, and didn't even really set up that much as far as the Seinfeld reunion goes. But this one, it did a great job of setting the stage, and it was funny, a great average kind of episode, and it certainly moves the story along. So yeah, I mean it was fine.
All right. Well, what am I doing? All of that being said, back to the beginning. Let's start the whole episode over again. No,
Ted was not recording.
I was not recording. Take 2 on everything. All right. Well, next week we have got season 8, episode 2, The Safe House. Original air date July 17th, 2011. And if you are looking in TV Guide that night, you are going to see Larry becomes an unlikely role model for battered women, and Richard Lewis's relationship with a burlesque performer is put to the test.
You know what? I am looking forward to another Richard Lewis relationship episode. I know.
We don't get enough of those. We don't get enough of those.
There's at least one, probably an average of one a season, because maybe there's 2 some seasons or whatever. But I hope that they go back to the well and he's like, this is the one. I hope he's telling Larry this is the one. And
this is the one. This is the one. I finally did it.
I'm looking forward to it, honestly. I'm not even joking. I really can't wait. Now I'm going to be disappointed if they don't go back to the well on that. So, all right, I don't remember much about this episode. I certainly hope they treat battered women with respect, but we'll see.
They probably won't.
What's more likely to happen? Richard Lewis has found the one, or they treat this with the respect,
with all the respect and dignity,
all of the gravitas, that it probably needs. We'll find out next week. Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. For No Hugging, No Learning, I'm Tim Murphy.
I'm Ted Hollowell. Be good.